The Vietnam War was one of the toughest challenges that the United States Armed Forces had experienced in its history. They faced an enemy that fought in an unconventional manner. Even though the Americans and their allies the South Vietnamese had superiority in the amount and quality of weaponry. The Vietnam War was fought almost completely in jungle terrain, which the American soldiers were not adapted to. The thick jungle prevented the use of armored units, aggravated logistics, and limited the use of the Air Force's support. All of these difficulties held back the U.S. forces from exploiting their fighting potential to its full extent on the opposite side. Soldiers of the Viet Cong and the North Vietnamese Army used all the jungle's features to their advantage. The density of foliage and bushes provided unlimited possibilities for guerrilla warfare in the jungle. The VC and NVA could go into hiding, prepare ambushes, and set up booby traps, but also allowed them to approach the American bases unnoticed, therefore holding their enemies in a constant state of increased awareness. Undoubtedly, the jungle terrain was a tremendous obstacle for the Americans in fighting the war for that reason. They fought it by all means possible. The best but also the most controversial weapon in their arsenal were chemical defoliants such as Agent Orange. The experience of the British Army in crushing the Malayan Uprising was of great help to the South Vietnamese in the early stages of the war. One technique passed on by the British was the process of jungle defoliation. By doing this, the British deprived insurgents of a natural hideout, an idea that could have worked in Vietnam as well, unable to conduct such an operation by themselves. The South Vietnamese asked the United States for help. On November 30, 1961, President John F. Kennedy approved the use of herbicides in Vietnam. Operation Ranch Hand had begun. Operation had two primary objectives: to deny the enemy from using thick jungle vegetation as cover, and to deny them access to food crops after conducting effective defoliation experiments. 6 Fairchild C-123 Provider aircraft, adapted for the spraying of chemical agents, landed on January 7, 1962 at the Tanzania Air Base in South Vietnam. 6 days later, they started operational missions. The operation that started in 1962 lasted for 9 years. The average sortie comprised 3 to 5 C-123 flying in formation, each spraying an area of land 260 feet or 80 meters wide and 10 miles or 16 kilometers long. For this task, the Fairchild C-123 Provider aircraft were fitted with tanks inside the fuselage and spray nozzles on the wings. In the beginning, operations were limited to the jungle along the major highway north of Saigon, mangrove forests near the coast, and rice farms in the Mekong Delta. The purpose of the task was to deny the insurgents cover for ambushes and using mangroves as building material and food. The number of sorties increased over time, as did the area of operations. The real increase occurred after the Gulf Tonkin incident, and the more active role of the United States in the war. A detachment of aircraft was deployed to Da Nang Air Base to operate against the Ho Chi Minh Trail. From 1966, Da Nang became the main base for spraying operations. By the end of the operation, 4 more air bases were added to the list. From 1965, the number of sorties rose exponentially. The highest number of sorties conducted in 1968 were around 5,700 missions, spraying over 5 million gallons or well over 19 million liters of herbicides on an area of about 7,900 square miles or 20,000 square kilometers. 95% of all spraying missions were conducted by Fairchild C-123 of the 309th Spray Flight, which later changed its name to the 12th Air Commando Squadron. Flying a spraying mission was a perilous job in order to make an accurate spray of herbicides on designated areas. Planes had to fly very low, about 150 feet above the ground. They also had to fly at a slow speed of 130 miles per hour on a straight and level flight path. Not only was it a challenging task, but it made the aircraft highly vulnerable to enemy anti-aircraft fire from the ground. The most challenging missions were in War Zone D, where the confined space and small target areas forced pilots to engage in dive bombing maneuvers. Besides, Fairchild C-123 modified Bell A-1 helicopters also performed air spraying tasks. On the ground, herbicides were sprayed from trucks and hand sprayers, especially around you. military bases, there were several herbicide agents that the military used for its missions. The herbicide known as Agent Blue was used for missions against rice farms. For defoliation missions, Agent Green, Agent Pink and Agent Purple were used until 1966, after which they were replaced with the more effective Agent Orange, and to a lesser extent Agent White. Without a doubt, Agent Orange was the most exploited herbicide of the ranch hand operation. Agent Orange was a 50-50 mixture of two herbicides, 2,4,5-trichlorophenoxyacetic acid and 2,4-dichlorophenoxyacetic acid. Both herbicides were experimented with during the World War II by United States Department of the Army, and were planned to use against Japan. When applied, Agent Orange caused the drying of foliage. After spraying, the foliage dropped completely in 3 to 8 weeks, after which it would not grow 4 to 6 months. Agent Orange is oil-soluble and effective during rainy seasons as it couldn't be washed away. Herbicides similar to Agent Orange were used in farming, but in Vietnam the concentration used in defoliation was 13 to 55 times higher. What made Agent Orange extremely dangerous was its byproduct 2,3,7,8-tetrachlorobenzoedioxin, TCBD, the most toxic compound of all dioxins. TCBD had high impact on human health, causing a series of health problems such as cancer, birth defects and other disabilities. It was exactly these issues that ultimately ended Operation Ranch Hand. Of a great significance was a study by United States National Cancer Institute that indicates serious health problems caused by Agent Orange. The public disapproval of using herbicides and fund cutting forced the Army to stop using Agent Orange mid-1970. On January 7, 1971, the last mission of Operation Ranch Hand was carried out during 9 years of Ranch Hand operation. Nearly 20 million gallons agents were sprayed on 30,000 square miles or 77,000 square kilometers of forests and agricultural land. Of that, over 60% were treated with Agent Orange. It was estimated around 20% of the jungle in South Vietnam was sprayed at least once with Agent Orange. The military assessed the results of the operation as highly positive, reporting that the horizontal visibility increased up to 70%, and vertical visibility as much as 90%. It was a result of great importance for the safety of American soldiers and the effectiveness of their operations in the field. In real terms, the operations wasn't as effective as the numbers showed. Vast areas of the jungle had been defoliated as well as tons of rice crops. But the Viet Cong always find the new hiding places, sources of food and material for rebuilding their infrastructure. Regardless of its actual military effectiveness, Agent Orange has definitely left an enormous mark on Vietnam. The trace left on the ecosystem was huge, even though dioxin has a low half-life in the soil of between 3 to 5 years. Only in the late 1980s did the environment show the significant signs of revitalization after the systematic reforestation campaigns. The most tragic consequence of Agent Orange and other herbicides were defect in human, which has been documented by several studies. According to Vietnamese documents, the exposure to dioxin because of Agent Orange spraying has caused health problems for an estimated 3 million Vietnamese citizens, of which 400,000 either died or ended up as serious disabilities. Especially striking was the fact that about 500,000 of children were born of birth defects in the year after the Operation Ranch Hand had finished, with a half-life up to 20 years inside the human body. There is a firm belief that dioxin also induced genetic defects among the population in the areas most affected by Agent Orange spray. Apart from the Vietnamese, Agent Orange has caused serious health problems for Americans and South Koreans veterans. During the war, soldiers employed on jobs handling and mixing agents for missions, and those who fought in areas with treated defoliants were assured that there was absolutely no threat to their health. However, on their return home, veterans suffer from health problems and had children born with birth defects. They pinpointed to their exposure of Agent Orange, regardless of their authenticity of numbers and the accuracy of the reports. 9 years of intensive spraying of herbicides such as Agent Orange has left a devastating mark on the people and the land of Vietnam.